How do you find a path when chasing your dreams? How do you even know that you're on the right path? How do you know that you're chasing your dreams and not someone else's dream? Short answer, you have to make sure that the path you are on, the dream you're chasing, it aligns with your strength, your core strength, your unique skills and experiences that you've gathered over time. That's the short answer. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that it matches your desire for the future, right? Before we get on to the long answer, let me tell you a bit of a backdrop. So I was with a couple of friends some time back, and among the friends I was with, I was the lowest earner among the couple of friends. And whilst we were talking, sitting down talking, some of them felt that I seemed very content with my career projection, where I am in my career. And so one of them asked me, how come I seem so content with my career path, even though I don't seem to be making as much money as the rest of them were? Then I thought about it for a couple of seconds, and then I figured, I think I told them something on the lines of, I think that the career path I'm on is what I truly want to do, at least at that point in my life, right? And I'm working on it to grow in that career path, and I'm content because it is what I have always wanted. It is what I want to do, and so I'm happy where I am, the fact that I'm on that journey alone. Fast forward a couple of weeks ago, someone asked me again. They are trying to figure out if they are on a right career path, and they asked me this question. I want to answer it with an analogy of a tree, right? And so we are going to talk about the three basic components of a tree, which is the root system. That's the part of a tree that enters the ground, right? That you don't see. The trunk part of a tree, the middle part, and then the crown. That's where the leaves are, the flowers, and then the fruits and branches. So let's start from the bottom up, the root part. I believe that everything you try to chase on it, you have to make sure that it matches with your core essence of who you are. The things that people don't see, the thing underneath the ground level, right? I'm talking about your value system. What do you value as a person? You have to know what you value as a person. Do you value more material things? Do you value material things? Do you value people's glory, physical glory? You want people to worship you and raise their hands to you everywhere you go? Or do you want to feel like you've added something of value on earth? Or maybe peace of mind? Whatever you value on earth, you have to know. So you are talking about the root system, right? The things that nobody sees underneath until they really get to know you. How do you know that a dream aligns with you? With the root system, it has to align with your values. We just spoke about that. The second part would be your desire as a person. What do you really want to achieve on earth? When you close your eyes, when there's peace, when no one is watching you, how do you picture success? How do you picture, if everything aligns, what do you see yourself doing? Personally, I think at the moment I just see myself relaxing on the beach with my family, and I know I have a certain wealth that I don't need to financially depend on someone, right? That's what I desire most in terms of the financial side of things. I also desire peace of mind. And so what do you desire? These are things that form in the root part of you. We are using the analogy of a tree. The other part of the root system that we're talking about today is your belief system. Belief systems are huge, but we are just going to mention a few, right? The biggest one I can think of is your religious and spiritual belief. The religion that you were born into. If you were born in no religion, that again forms part of your religious and spiritual belief, right? Everybody has some kind of spiritual ties. And so what you were born into, what you grew up in, affects you as a person. Because at the beginning and the early stages of your life, these were the ideologies that you subscribed to, that you believe. And so I personally was born in a Christian home, in a Christian background. And so they formed most part of my molding years, my teenage years. And so whatever religion you were born in, they affect you, your spirituality. The other part would be your psychological belief system and societal and cultural beliefs, right? The society you grew up in, the culture that you grew up in, whether you are aware of it or not, the culture you were born and raised in society, they affect you, your way of thinking, your way of behaving, even how you manage time and money. So many things, they really affect you. belief system can eventually change, but until you are aware of it and you make a conscious effort to change something, they are part of you. And so this is what forms, in my understanding, the core essence of every human being. Your desires, your values, and your belief system, right? These are the things that most people don't see. We will not get that when talking to you on a short term. We really have to get to know you. And then in the middle part, we come to the trunk section. If you ever seen a tree that has been cut, right? There are rings that are formed inside, these circular things that are formed inside. We've come to know them as the age of the tree, right? How much the tree has grown. In comparison to the analogy we are given, this would be your experience that you've gathered over the years. Your experience you've gathered over the years, your education along the years that you've gathered, whether formal education if you went to any structured school, or informal education, lessons that your family passed on to you, lessons that your society passed on to you. And another thing is your exposure. How exposed were you when you were growing up? Were you living in the very village where you were with plants and trees, or were you in the city? All these forms part of your exposure. Another key part of this ring system, which all forms part of your trunk system, right, is your interpretation of all these things. How do you interpret your educational system, your experiences, and your exposure in life? And so these become the molding parts of you. These are things that you can barely change. At the end of it, or at the top of a tree, is a crown section. This is where you achieve certain things in life. This is where people see. Now, have you observed that when you are watching a tree from afar, the thing that draws you to a tree, mostly when you are watching a tree from afar, is a crown, the crown of a tree. This is where the leaves are. So you see the flowers of a tree would attract you, the flowers, the leaves, the fruit of a tree. This is what people see from afar. When they don't get close to you, they don't get to know your trunk section that we discussed about and your root section. And so you have to be careful here that when you are being sold a dream, you make sure that you are not being sold only the crown section. Other thing I want to mention is that sometimes a dream can be passed on to you, and it might be good for you or it might not be good for you. But how do you know it? Again, this is where you need to focus on the root parts of who you are as a person, and then the trunk part, your experiences, your education, your exposure, the skill sets that you have as a person, right? Most of it when people are telling you dreams, like when I was growing up in my country, my family wanted me to be an engineer. You know, the African families, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. If you are not one of these, you probably have failed in life, right? And so what my parents or my family were saying was, they were showing me the crown of that dream, the success point, the fruit of that crown. But they forgot the molding part of it, how long it takes to be an engineer, what are the traits, the root system of that dream. All I'm saying is, whatever dream that is being passed on to you, make sure that they align with your core essence of a being. Yes, being in the medical field is good, it pays well, but can you stand blood? Are you an empathic and sympathetic person? Can you deal with people? Do you have the patience to care for people? This is one of the things where we have many people in the wrong fields after they train so much and they realize they are in the wrong industry. Again, I'm not saying that don't listen to everyone. Sometimes people can direct you, right? People who spend time with you to understand a bit of your core structure, your root system, and your trunk system. This could be your family, your father, your mother, a parent, a brother, a sister. Any person that has been with you through your formative years has been able to witness your strength and your weakness. And so they can guide you that, oh, this might be a good path for you to take. This might not be a good path for you to take because maybe you talk a lot and perhaps engineers don't talk a lot. You should consider a job in journalism or radio or whatever. Or you're very good with your hands, so you should consider a career that is good with your hands. All I'm saying is whatever dream that you hear, you have to make sure that it aligns with your core, That's your root system we talked about, and your trunk section. For example, I'm recently in the IT field, and it was my former boss back when I was in a different country. When one time we were talking about a career change, and he did mention to me that, have you ever considered this career? I hadn't heard about my current role before as a business analyst, data analyst. I'd never heard that term before. My manager then told me that he thinks I'd be a good business data analyst. I had no idea what that was. And so with time, I took some time off to research that career path. And I realized maybe he was onto something. So I went to him and I asked him, why do you think this will be great for me? And then he gave me certain traits he had observed while I was working with me. And I took note of that. And so when the time came for me to change my career, it made sense for me to consider that path. And I tell you, it's one of the best decisions I've made so far. And so I am not discrediting that someone can pass on a dream to you. I'm just saying when they do pass on to you, make sure that it aligns with your core essence as a person. And so yes, those who know you can really help you be on a path, a good career path, a good goal, a good ambition for you to achieve. But don't forget, sometimes nature does its thing. Sometimes there will be a massive rainstorm. There might be a massive wind. In life, those could be a death in your life, right? Or a major rupture in your life. Maybe a divorce and you had a child and you have to suffer the consequences. Or you are a parent and you're divorcing from your partner. It could be a separation or a business that you really invested your energy and time in and is failing. Whatever it may be. In this analogy, let's refer it to as the elements of nature, right? The storm. When the storm comes, when the wind comes, this is where those whose goals, the path they are on, would know whether it really aligns to their route. Sometimes you can forget why, but when the storms hit, this is an invitation for you to reconnect with your roots, your value system, your belief system, your desires. Why are you even on this journey? Sometimes when it gets hard, when the journey gets tough, you have to remember why you wanted to do this in the first place. And so if you want to know if you're on a good path, whether you're chasing your dreams or someone's dream, remember the analogy of a tree. Is the path you are on in alignment with your root system, your values, your beliefs, your desires? Does it match your trunk system, your education, your experiences in life, your exposure, and your interpretation of these things? And all in all, when you are able to align all these, you would eventually now form a very beautiful crown. The fruit system, the leaf, and the branch system. Have you also observed that that's the part where most people take the joy in plants? Because when we see trees, we never really admire their root system. When we see trees, we barely admire their trunk system. It is the crown part of a tree that we admire, right? That's the part that gives us shade when the sun is very, very hot. That's the part that produces fruit. But we forget that before we get a fruit, it has to come from the root. And so the next time you are faced with whether you're on the right path or the journey you are on aligns with your goals, your ambitions, remember the analogy of a tree. Know your roots. But again, what do I know? I'm just a naive observer. Until we meet again, peace out.